The difficulty with most renewable technologies is that they use a great deal more land than fossil or nuclear technologies. And we'll see some communities that learn to love an industrial landscape and others that learn to hate an industrial landscape. Both are legitimate, and we need two-way interactions so that the stakeholders have to realize that there are places that are simply not going to be acceptable to the public to put in industrial energy parks.
The feed-in tariff is a policy instrument that allows anybody to become a renewable energy generator and put power into the system and earn a profit. So we started that campaign back in 2004. So for me, this windmill really represents the whole drive towards community power and policies that would allow farmers, co-ops, churches, hockey rinks, community centers, residents to build renewables, whether it's a solar panel or a windmill, feed electricity into the grid and earn a profit.
The Canadian wind industry, when we met with their board of directors, had no interest in finding middle ground. Their only interest was having us convert to their side.
If it's done in a place like Toronto, where a lot more people can see it, they have different reactions than they would to a natural gas plant in Toronto, which not everyone can see.
What we've done here, to me, shows such true and monumental leadership, and unfortunately it just hasn't had the press that I think it needed to have to counter any of this opposition that's coming.
4 months into my involvement with Save the Toronto Bluffs, which is a local community group that was fighting to stop Toronto Hydro's offshore wind proposal. And so February 11, 2009, Dalton McGuinty gives a speech in London, Ontario, to announce the creation of the Green Energy Act. And in it, he attacks Scarborough Bluffs residents and says that we're NIMBY, that basically the essence of our position can be described as simply not in our backyard. And then Dalton McGuinty came out and said, those NIMBYs in Scarborough won't be tolerated. We're going to take away their rights to fight and bring in the Green Energy Act to facilitate these projects in Scarborough. So if you look at the latest poll, the Liberals have 26% support in the city.
So now the municipalities are not part of that decision-making process, which I don't agree with that piece of it. I think they should be part of the process. But because there was so much resistance in some particular places that were ripe for wind development, the province took that step.
George Millerman's response the next day was to accuse us of being absurd, that our concerns were absurd, and that anyone with concerns about wind turbines 3 or 4 kilometers offshore was absurd and had worked themselves into an artificial lather. So when anyone calls us names, particularly our opponents, it fuses us together because it creates a common threat and a common enemy, and they reaffirm that with every abusive insult they hurl at us. And they also polarize the debate. So they take it from being something we can negotiate to being something where someone's going to win and someone's going to lose.
We were shocked. We were not expecting this. The province, by and large, has been very positive towards helping and promoting green power. And out of nowhere, they decided to put a moratorium on offshore wind.
I heard the Minister of the Environment on the radio saying that he was taking action to protect the drinking water of millions of people by introducing a moratorium on wind power in the Great Lakes. And as I said to some of my friends, I just about drove off the road. I was so outraged that that was the reason that he was giving for introducing a moratorium on wind power.
The Liberals the government was saying, we'll make some concessions. And unfortunately, I think that all it's done is given wind concerns more wind in their sails. And they're even having a celebratory event to mark that win that they see and give people the hope that they can do more.
We are celebrating this death. It was 9 years old Toronto Hydro's attempts to explore offshore wind date back to 2003, April 2003, and it's now March 2011, and it is no more.
I personally thought, you know what, let's celebrate. I know that if turbines had gone in Lake Ontario, the value of my house would have gone down at least 25%, if not more.
Most of them started off complaining about property values. When I said, well, there's actually very little evidence that suggests property values are going to be harmed by this, the next argument was, well, it's bad for human health. And I said, well, you know, there's not a lot of evidence that suggests it's bad for human health. And more importantly, don't you realize you live really close to the Pickering nuclear power station? And if something goes wrong there, that will be extraordinarily bad for human health.
We don't believe the Green Energy Act allows for the safe installation of industrial wind turbines. We believe it does allow industrial wind turbines to harm human health and the economy, to damage Ontario's economic competitiveness, and also to destroy local democracy by removing planning rights. And these are the things that we're trying to have addressed.
If we lose the feed-in tariff, we've lost a huge basis for getting the public involved in sustainability and all the ancillary jobs and economic stimulus that come from feed-in tariffs and renewable energy. And that to me would be such a huge step backwards if we lost that. It would be tragic.